Hi guys, it's Haley and welcome back to my channel, and today I will be covering the true story behind Scream. The Scream franchise, if you guys are aware, you know it's with Ghostface. It's basically a slasher movie, so I'm going to be talking about the true case that actually inspired Scream. And I've done my research, but I'm probably going to read most of it from my laptop because while I did do the research, I won't miss anything because some of my research videos I do miss, so like I would like to get extra information. So yeah, but yeah, make sure to subscribe and like this video. Now we all know Scream, but one of the best slasher movie franchises out there, and while Ghostface personally isn't real, the person inspired by that is that of Danny Rolling. Danny Rolling was an American serial killer who was born in 1954 and died in 2006. When he was caught, he was sentenced to death for 5 college students, and he was executed by lethal injection. So yeah, he died from lethal injection, but he was responsible for the brutal murders of 5 college students. Now this case to me sounded disturbing. It does make sense why it would inspire such a franchise like Scream. But yeah, now we'll get on to the case. I'm not going to talk about his early life because this is just going to cover the murders themselves. But yeah, let's get into it. It took place in Gainesville in August 1990, where he would murder, he would murder five students. One student was from Santa Fe College, and the other 4, they were from University of Florida. So they both were from different colleges. And it happened during a burglary and robbery spree during Gainesville, where I don't even mention this, but he would basically mutilate his bodies, all that stuff. He would basically torture them. And I'm not going to get into more details about it, but he brutally murdered them when I say that. Now, in the early mornings of Friday, August 24th, Rolling himself broke into the apartment shared by 2 university freshmen, 18-year-old Sandra and then 17-year-old Christina Powell. Fine pounding asleep on the downstairs couch, he stood over her briefly, but did not wake her up. So instead, he went to the upstairs bedroom where Lawson was also asleep, and then that's when he continued to murder her. And then this is disturbing. He would tape her mouth shut to shut down her screams, and then he would go on to stab to death. And then now this is sort of kind of sounding like the Idaho murders, where like the suspect broke into the apartment and killed these students except one. But I mean, very differently. But it makes me wonder how many of these happen each year. Now, a day later, on Saturday, August 25th, Rolling broke into the apartment of another 18-year-old Kim, who was a chemistry honor student, Krista Hoyt, at nearby Santa Fe College, which I mentioned, prying open a sliding glass door with a screwdriver. And while she was not home, he waited in the living room for her return at 11 a.m. So when Hoyt entered the apartment, she was surprised by Rolling, he placed her with a chokehold where he would use duct tape to also shut her mouth from screaming and bind her wrists, and then basically he would physically assault her. I'm not going to use the other word, but he would physically assault her and then stab her to death. So that's just... And by this point in time, like, we can also tell the murders have gotten a lot of attention, especially since these were young girls, but most importantly, they were students, and this was happening, and they didn't have any leads or no suspects. Now, many students have begun taking extra precaution about changing their daily routines and sleeping groups, which probably sounds good. And while this was happening so early, a lot of kids just left the college and just like dropped out because they were too scared, or they went to other schools. And then there's Tracy Pauls, who was 23 years old, was also living with her roommate Mandy, who was also 23. And then on Monday, August 27th, Roland broke into their apartment through a glass door, and he used the same exact tools. And then he found Taboda, I think it's one of the guys, and then he also killed him. Roland also killed him. And then Pauls went down to Taboda's room just to check on him and saw Roland, so she tried to close the bedroom on herself, but unfortunately Rogan broke through. He also taped her, and he also unfortunately physically assaulted her, and then he also stabbed her again 3 times, just like the other bodies. But now, instead, with the exception of Taboda, all the victims were basically white brunettes with brown eyes, like Rowling's mother. Remember that, Rowling's mother. Although law enforcement have viewed, at least police identified 2 suspects. One was Eric Lewis Humphrey, a Florida student who had known to have mental illness, and who was also arrested after a physical altercation. But he was indicted. He got freed with less evidence that would hold against him. But eventually it would lead to the case of Danny Rowling, which he eventually got caught and sentenced, and he was sentenced to death, which he later became executed. Now that's basically all I can put in short, because if you guys want part 2, because in part 2 I can talk about the more details about how he was caught and when he was caught. I'll talk about all of that, but this video right now is just part 1, talking about the murders. And this sort of reminds me of the Ted Bundy case too, because remember I talked about the physical appearances of the girls? The girls literally had the exact same physical appearance, or hair features and eye features, just like Rowling's mother. So maybe, this is the thing, Ted Bundy, he himself had a dramatic childhood. He had trouble with his mother. I think he eventually loathed her, which led Ted Bundy to hate on women. So he did that, and he would kill women who symbolized his mother because of how traumatized he was with her. So maybe this is a similar case. Maybe with Rowling, he had a bad childhood with his mother, and that triggered him to kill these girls with the exact looks and physical appearance just like his mother. And I don't know this because my degree is in psychology, but yeah, this case literally inspired the whole Scream franchise, and I just can't believe that happened. Now, I know this was short, that's why I'm saying this is going to be part 1, and then later this week I'll post a part 2 explaining how he got caught, when he got caught, and how the authorities actually managed to catch up to him. But yeah, that's all of part 1 for today. The murders, and when he was executed, how he was executed by lethal injection, of course, and then, the murders themselves and the suspects. But yeah, if you guys want to see me do a part 2 covering how he was caught and how the authorities got to him, please let me know, and I'll bring that video out. Now, if you do guys let me know that y'all want part 2, then I'll probably post that out sometime next week, because I'm still doing research, but I'll still post it out next week. But yeah, thank you for watching, and that's my true crime vlog. If you did not know, Scream, Ghostface isn't real, but the case that inspired it is, and it's just disturbing.